Hi everyone and welcome to this tour on Clustermarket. Clustermarket is your go-to lab management system and it's the one single place where you can manage your lab from. So you can see all your instruments in the lab dashboards, in the calendar view, along with all the bookings from your users as well as your own in green. Other things like announcements, maintenance, or breakdowns, you can see them in red or yellow. And red means that no one can book the instruments. Yellow means that they can still book them, but there's a message that they should be aware of. To book an instrument, a user would simply click on the instrument name, such as the autoclave, and then see all its information on the equipment page. Afterwards, they just need to find an available slot on the calendar, drag and drop, and then simply click on book, and the equipment is booked right away. So this literally takes 5 seconds, and they can always click on the booking and either edit the booking or cancel it if they have changed their mind. So that's it for the booking process. In terms of equipment, you can manage all your instruments under overview. And the cool thing about Clustermarket is that there are no limits. So you can have as many as you want here. You can edit existing ones, you can delete them, but you can also add new ones simply by entering their general information, along with any booking rules you want to enforce, things like minimum and maximum booking time, for example. After this, you just click on create equipments and the equipment will become available on the overview. Additionally, we have services available, and the main difference to the equipment is that these are not booked by the hour, they are just requested by your students or researchers. So you can just list here what you offer and people could request them. And by speaking of people, you have your users management module here with an overview of everyone that is registered in your lab accounts. And they all have a role that ranges from admin to students, depending on the access that you want to give them, along with any booking rules or groups they belong to. And groups are basically the easy way to define the equipment they have access to. To add a user, you can simply invite them one by selecting a role and entering the email address, or you can generate a URL to invite multiple users in one go. This URL can already define things like the role, but also the groups that the user will belong to. So in this case, we're going to invite researchers, so they will get the researcher role as well as the researcher group that they will be part of. And by speaking of groups, groups are available under users, and you can see here the rules that you can define for the group. So if you want them to, for example, allow them to cancel and edit their bookings, what are the lab hours that they can book the equipment during, and you just assign the equipment to the group along with the users that you want to belong to that group, so that they need to follow the rules that you define every time they book something from the same group. On top of this, we have projects, which is basically the place where you can enter any information regarding R&D projects you have going on in the lab, as well as any funding information that you want to keep track of. So if you want people in your lab to use some sort of account codes or funding codes when booking an instrument, you simply create a project for that and assign them to it, so that this information is stored on the system and you can later on keep track of the number of hours and the costs associated with a specific project. Then we have the announcements, which is our communication feature I mentioned briefly in the calendar. That's what allows us to do the red and the yellow slots that we saw. And you can make announcements based on equipment, but also general announcements. So general announcements, it's pretty much the same thing as sending an email to the entire lab. But the cool thing is that you can select everyone with just one click. If you want to do something regarding an equipment, and let's say the autoclave is undergoing maintenance next week, so we can simply select the autoclave along with all its users, choose to make the equipment unavailable because we don't want anyone to book it, and then simply select the period of time. So it's going to be next week, the whole week, so the 29th until the 3rd. And basically, you just send them a message the same way you would write an email, and the system will take care of the rest. So that's how you would create an announcement, and the calendar will become red during that time period afterwards. Last but not least, we have the reporting feature that allows you to extract all this data regarding the lab activity in your lab. So you can filter by time here at the top. You can aggregate by user, lab, equipment, or equipment and user, and even groups if you want just to see things like total number of hours, total number of bookings done by a user on a specific instrument, and so on. And you can even filter also by these parameters if you only want information regarding certain instruments, certain users, and so on. So that's it for our quick tour of the system. If you have any questions, please reach out to our team. We'll be glad to show you how you can adapt the system to your own lab. Thank you.